Welcome to Dugout Therapy, a baseball podcast about the mental game built by Coach Crates. If you're looking to succeed both on and off the field, this is the place for you.
Rock and roll.
Hey guys, welcome to Dugout Therapy. This is your host, Dave Wodzis, and I'm here with my co-host, Quinn Adams. How are you, Quinn?
I'm good. I'm better than how you're feeling after last night.
I know you've been waiting to say that. I was digging into you last week, and now it's my time to feel the pain. Yanks lost last night in Game 7 on an Altuve moonshot, so I'm recovering, and we'll get over it. I'll probably talk a little bit about it throughout the episode, but really excited to chat today with hopefully one of our big partners moving forward. Me and Joe have kind of been collaborating back and forth a little bit over the past month or two. He does a lot of cool stuff. He is the founder of alwaysgrind365.com. They have hitters notebooks, pitchers notebooks, game logs, stuff like that. Really big. I think it's a trending product and has a really big value for guys that play at the higher levels. So excited to talk with you today, Joe. Thanks for being on with us.
Yeah.
Boys, Dave and Quinn, good to be a part of Dugout Therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so happy to have you. Yeah, like I mentioned, guys, me and Joe have been kind of working together a little bit on some new resources that we're hopefully going to be partnering on in the near future. So that will be really exciting for Coach Crates and for Always Grind. But today we're going to talk a little bit about his story, his baseball life, how he kind of got started with the business, and try to make some connections to our coaches and our listeners out there and see what value they can take from it. Joe, to kind of kick us off, you want to give us a little feedback on and about your baseball story, your upbringing, kind of where you fell in love with the game?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those listening, the Coach's Game Logs is coming out soon. So stay tuned. The Coach Crates and Always Grind Coach's Game Logs is coming soon. So
Nice.
We'll get into that later. But so Joe Moroney, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in a town called Pleasanton, California. It's in the East Bay. Like many, fell in love with the game of baseball at a young age, playing t-ball, doing the same stuff, kind of a very similar story to many. But obviously was fortunate enough to have had played as long as I had. Grew up, like I said, in the Bay Area. High school ball was – I graduated in 2011, but we'll start a little bit before that. My baseball story is it's a little unique, to say the least. Just growing up, was never the biggest guy, kind of similar to, Altuve kind of style story, where it's kind of all about persistency and knowing that I was able to help a ball club, whichever level I was at. So just kind of kicking into there, I was cut from my Babe Ruth team at 13. Knew that I could play at that level. We had a pretty successful, it's called the Tri-Valley Babe Ruth. It's a kind of almost a powerhouse, if you will, for that 13 to 15-year-old age group. And obviously nowadays with how travel baseball and college developmental programs are working now, it's kind of died down a little bit. But back then, that's the place to go after Little League. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And it just at that age, I was a very late bloomer. And at that age, those are the times where guys start, hitting puberty at that age, start growing. And I was definitely not one of those guys, not for one of those guys for a while. So
I can relate to that.
Getting to the point, I just knew that I could play at that level. And it was kind of like I was saying, a little Altuve-ish story to where, I got cut from every single team in that league. I was like, hey, I want another tryout. And luckily enough for me, one of the teams in that league said, yeah, we'll give you another tryout. And it worked out in my favor, and I was able to play in that league. And I know it's Babe Ruth baseball and that kind of stuff, but it kind of set the precedent for how I was as a baseball player. Just always wanting to – I always have to play up to my competition. So that kind of enabled me to kind of have that work ethic to try and go get whatever my goals would have been. So kind of moving forward with that, I don't want to drag on too much. It's a pretty long story, but it's kind of similar high school story. Freshman, I didn't make varsity as a freshman or sophomore. It's none of those things. It was just kind of going through the process, maintaining and growing every single year to try and be the best player I could be. I wasn't very highly recruited out of high school, even though we had a pretty successful high school team, and the Northern California area typically draws pretty well in terms of college recruitment. So I wasn't very high recruited. Keeping a long story short, like I said, I'm trying to do my best here. But, I got a walk-on opportunity at Santa Clara University here in California, so kind of right in my backyard. And unfortunately, their coaching staff got fired, and I was recruited walk-on. So when that happens, coaches don't have to live up to those walk-on spots for their incoming year. So it was about 2-3 weeks before high school graduation. I had no idea where I was going, no idea where I was playing, if I was going to play anymore. And kind of going back to when I was 13 years old, I just, we had the internet back then. I made a list of about 100 coaches, skipped class for about a week, and called every single office and just said, hey, this is who I am. I really want to play at this level. I think I can play at the Division I level. And luckily enough for me, I talked to the head coach at University of Kansas, Rich Price. He goes by Skip Price now. He's been in the game for a while, so he's earned that nickname. But and it was like, all right, this is what we can do for you. You can walk on the team. We'll enroll you at the University of Kansas. And we got 40-something guys coming in. We're keeping 35. So if this is something that you want to do, take the risk and, come out to Kansas, a little different environment than California. But I knew I wanted to go play at that level, play at the Division I level, and compete against, in the Power Five. So that's kind of pretty much my background. I've tried to save it just a couple minutes here for you, but
that kind of gives a good overview of just who you are as a person. I can connect with a lot of that story, and I really love where you're coming from. There are a lot of kids that grow, get big early, and have the talent early, and they get recruited, or they always had that spot on that team. So that was never me either. So I was always a small guy until late high school. I actually started putting on a little weight, and then I was an average size guy in college. So I can, feel where you're coming from, and I respect the hell out of you reaching out to as many coaches as possible and just trying to go get it. Like, I think that's so important for guys to have that mentality, and, you're embodying that. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, it's one of those things, as I try to tell, younger guys as well, is that there's tons of opportunity out there. Like there could be a spot for, there's obviously not, but there's a spot for somebody out there, especially if you're willing to take the leap, willing to say, go from, California to Kansas, or someplace that's a lot different, or maybe you've never been to, but the same constant is the game of baseball. If you want to be a baseball player, you can't limit yourself to the opportunities that are out there, whether it's JUCO, NAIA, Division III, 2, 1, whatever it is. You can't limit yourself to those opportunities out there, because if you want it that bad and you're a hard worker, someone's going to give you a shot.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I was reading just something the other day. What was there, 20 plus players in the playoffs this year in MLB? All started in JUCO, Right. I look back on my career, and I could have definitely went that route. I bet it would have benefited me. I think it's right for a lot of people, and it's overlooked. So, any high school coaches listening, I think should definitely keep that in their back pocket for some players that they think would be a good fit for that, to continue to develop, that are passionate and, need that extra year or two of development to get a lot of playing time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think junior college is the most underrated route you could possibly go. I played with a bunch of guys, in high school that went to JUCO route, and some of them got drafted, and it's,
wow.
You have the opportunity to get drafted, your freshman year, your sophomore year of junior college. And even if that doesn't work out, you can go transfer. It's one of the most underrated opportunities out there for growth and development, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And it's happening all over the place. And plus you kind of get that you kind of get that grit and that grind, you kind of get that status, because I'm sure nowadays with Instagram stuff, when guys commit to places and stuff like that, if you're seeing your buddies doing that, and it's like, well, I'm going to the JUCO, and it gets that weird, it's like, it's the kind of the Instagram thing, it's,
Oh yeah.
guy's going he got 1,000 likes because he's going to the University of Oregon, and I'm going to the local JUCO. But then fast forward 4 or 5 years later, that JUCO guy's in the big leagues and he's playing the playoffs, right? Like you were saying.
So you obviously said California kid going to Kansas. What was the roster like? Was everybody from all over, or were you kind of the only guy from miles away?
Right. I guess with the kind of a bigger school, especially in enrollment, like the University of Kansas, and with it being a Big 12 school, there's guys from all over the place. The KU brand kind of draws a lot of people from all over the place in terms of like the student body. And our head coach, he's still there actually. He actually coached at Cal Poly beforehand, so he has a lot of connections in California, and that's actually part of the reason why he kind of took the risk on myself, was because he had a lot of connections in the California area, so he's able to reference those guys he had relationships with. But yeah, to answer your question, the pool of guys are from all over the place. I had 3 or 4 teammates from Hawaii my freshman year, who were from all over the place. And that's awesome. It's the best part about playing college baseball, especially at a school that, has a good draw. I was in the guy's wedding, one of the Hawaii guy's wedding last January. So, it's just that's one of the coolest things about baseball is those relationships that you build. And who knows? And if I didn't go to Kansas, I obviously probably wouldn't have been in that wedding. So just another cool kind of baseball story for myself, I guess.
That's awesome. No, I mean, my college coach always used to say, whenever we were in a huddle and he had a moment, he would always be like, hey, look around. These are guys that are going to be at your wedding. These are, your brothers for life. That was always a phrase he used, but yeah. So
true. And it's weird because at the moment you don't know, it's like, all right, can we just go play the game? Like I want to go win. But and then you take a step back and like you're saying, yeah, the coach is right. And that's coaching, that's, I try to instill those memories in those guys. If they could realize that at the moment, they're going to take in the moment a lot more seriously than if they were just playing the game. And obviously there's so many cool things outside the game of baseball, like relationships, that we're talking about here. So that's just the difference in age and experience right there. And that's coaching.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
So you got to Kansas, you said about 40 guys or so were going to camp and only 35 spots were available. You end up making it?
Yeah. So I ended up having a decent fall, and I just knew that I had the opportunity to help the team I was a short, speedy outfielder, and that's what they saw me as. So I knew I would be able to help the team out, whether it was base running or as a defensive replacement at an early age. I still had a long ways to go in terms of development with the bat, and they knew that. But I just knew if I was able to kind of be the hustle guy, be the defensive replacement, the guy who's diving for balls all over the place, and making an impact that way, I'd have a decent chance. And lucky for me, they kind of saw that as well. So yeah, I did end up making the roster and was there for 5 total years. I took a redshirt year in the middle, but very fortunate it worked out. That risk worked out because that was probably one of the best decisions of my life, going to KU.
What was the redshirt?
What year?
No, why did you redshirt?
Just for playing time purposes. I knew that I had to kind of get my body in terms of weight and strength, because I didn't really mature, 100% till probably that redshirt year. Just because I was such a late bloomer and still growing and still trying to gain that muscle strength to compete at the Big 12 level. You're playing against men, and our coach would say all the time, this is a man's conference, and he's not wrong. So I knew that and plus our incoming, that my class was pretty good. We ended up I was an outfielder there. So all three of those starting outfielders in my class played minor league baseball. So we had a pretty good outfield core there. So I knew, okay, if I can get one more year, then I'll be able to play junior, senior year. That was kind of the strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's smart. Giving yourself a year to develop. I had a year, my sophomore year, where I tore my PCL. I was pretty much out the whole year. Came back a little bit at the end, and then I think I rushed back. Had kind of like half of an off season of playing time, training. Ended up hurt my arm a little bit the next year, and looking back at it, I think giving yourself and your body some time like that can be really helpful in development. I think I definitely could have used a year in between. I think I was kind of starting to get caught up in my education and moving along quickly with that, so I didn't. But I think that that was definitely smart.
Yeah, it's if I wish I did freshman year, freshman or sophomore year, just because you're able to take in. Okay, if you're going, okay, I don't have to be ready to go pinch run in the 8th or 9th inning. You know what I mean? You're able to kind of take in what actually is going on, and it's just a way better learning experience to know that, hey, I'm not playing, but I'm going to be in the game still, and you're able to kind of learn from that. Plus, obviously, the growth you have with development physically and then mentally during those games, if you're able to kind of lock it in and really take that redshirt year as a growth year instead of I'm going to catch up in terms of baseball, catch up on school. Do something like that, you can really grow in one full year to be, the guy the next year. So I think redshirting is a great opportunity for those, coming in. They're kind of hit by the competitiveness of college baseball. They're not able to adapt as quickly as, say, other guys, or they don't have the opportunities and say a full scholarship guy or something like that. It's always a good alternative to do.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the big thing sticking out for me, how did you go from walk-on to, starter junior, senior year and captain? What was kind of, what was the one thing you'd maybe credit to that, coming up through the system like that and kind of being influential towards the end there?
Yeah, I think it's just experience and time. I mean, I didn't play that much freshman, sophomore, and then obviously that redshirt year. But also having good leaders around me, guys to look up to, that are a year, maybe even 2 years older than you is huge, especially, and I think in terms of recruiting too, if guys are deciding, what kind of school to go to, the guys ahead of you really set the precedent of what the culture is about, in the program. And I credit a lot of just kind of my learning experiences to kind of reach up to where I was, nominated captain my senior year to the guys before me, just to take a step back and just look at what those guys were doing at the time. And when I'm in their shoes in the future, is just huge. And they set the precedent, they set the tone. And I think I could also credit it to just me really taking, oh shoot, I got 2 years left and it's over. Like I want to keep playing baseball after college. Like I think it was just kind of a switch that flipped off, during the summertime going into my junior year after my redshirt season, where it's like, hey, 2 more years and you're already 3 years in. This could be your senior year, and just kind of that flip that switched for me, where it's like, hey, I gotta, instead of, I mean, no offense to this whole student athlete thing, but instead of going to study, like I got to go in the cage.
Yeah.
Practice. Like, you got to find that happy medium. And lucky for me, like I was able to put myself in that situation academically to where, I was still able to graduate on time but just take 12 units in the springtime instead of 15 or with an online class, blah, blah, blah. I was able to focus more on my baseball career. Luckily, just because I was able to kind of schedule it out that way. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it is. And the guys in the locker room, looked at me as a person who's a grinder and wanted to win. And it was an honor to be named captain by, the coaching staff and my teammates. It's something I could always have for the rest of my life, and, really fortunate to be had that title.
That's awesome. I love that.
So as a student athlete, how did you have the time to start developing what you're doing now, Always Grind? Like, how did that idea come about?
Well, it's something I really started to dabble into kind of my senior year, was to take almost an academic approach to the game of baseball. Just because, you're playing, you have the college season that's 56 games plus playoffs if you guys get there, and then you go and play summer ball. You're playing, over 100 games a season. That's a lot of data. That's a lot of things that you can take a step back and look and see yourself almost in a mirror as a third eye looking in, if you will, to who you are as a player. And I really started just to journal, certain games or how I was feeling. And, the business side of where Always Grind started really didn't start to kick in until, my professional career, just because we were playing every single day. I was like, oh, shoot, I can't miss this opportunity, even if I'm on the bench, to get some data, whether it's the pitcher or how I'm being pitched. So that's where kind of the idea kind of started. And I just kept taking notes on game situations, like I said, if I was playing or if I wasn't playing. And I was actually one of the independent leagues that I was in, 2018, I believe. There's only 4 total teams. So we were playing the same 3 teams all summer long. And so I was able to gather all this information, and actually helped out our team a lot. Just I teach a pitcher, how to do it. I just created this simple chart, but we were able to categorize it to where, hey, this guy's going to throw, on a 1-1 count, he's going to come with a breaking ball 90% of the time, right? Mm-hmm. Just stuff like that. And that's kind of where the main idea of starting this business came from, mm-hmm. because we had some extra time because I wasn't a student anymore. I didn't have to focus on studying for a test. I was a professional athlete. So after the game or whatever, you collect the data and I would print out these sheets, and it really started to help our team. And I was like, okay, there's definitely a way to do this to where I can individualize it to where, whether you're 12 years old or you're in the major leagues, where you can gather this data and make it quick, like you're painting a picture, illustrating, drawing a picture of your at bat almost. Mm-hmm. So I just sat down, after I retired last September, I just sat down and really started playing with certain designs and that can create a quick flow, ease of use, that kind of thing. And, just kind of ran with it. And, looking back at it from, it's been a little over a year since it was kind of a fathom of my imagination. It's a lot of fun to work with and to try and keep growing this. And it's awesome to see the results that are coming in from, guys like Chavis has used it this season, and he kind of became the notebook guy in Boston, which was cool. Mm-hmm. And to the point where a 14-year-old kid is using the same one, so it's pretty cool to kind of see that as a business owner and to be able to stay in the game, number one, and then also give back to the game.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I saw Chavis using that, a few times throughout the season. And I was just like, let's go. Joe's getting his name out there. I love it. No,
I was waiting for a long time to have somebody take a picture of him actually using it, because he had just a general notebook, and then it kind of in spring training. And once I saw that, I had to get in touch and send him one. Mm-hmm. But I was waiting for a long time for something like that to come out. It finally did. And I was like, oh yeah, we're putting us on social media everywhere, taking out ads, doing everything. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's huge. I mean, that says a lot about, what it is. It's such a simple product, and on the outside, looking in, it the simplicity of it, I think, makes it great. It's easy to use, but it tells you so much about the game. So, I've looked at, for the listeners, I've looked at a bunch of, your samples for all of them, the hitter's notebook, the game logs, and the pitcher's ones. And it's just so valuable. I think you can use this high school up, really, and obviously it'd be more in depth as you get up, collegiate and professional. But there's a lot of value in this. I do love what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what did your first notebook look like at Kansas when you were taking notes? Was it just spiral bound, you're jotting as much as you can down game by game and then kind of compiling the data, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty much in college, chicken scratch, doctor handwriting. You're trying to get back into, the clubhouse or write something down or something that you felt that day. But yeah, in college, it was more of just the journaling part of it to where, hey, this is how I felt today. Like, okay, I saw the ball really well today. What did I do before that, before the game? Or, was it because I slept 8 hours last night or something like that, right? So it didn't really get started into the detail parts where it's like at bat per at bat until, pro ball. But obviously both sides of it are huge. And especially now with how, the game is moving toward in all sports, like the mental side of it, because physically, like the game is all sports are so much faster and it's so much more pristine, like everything, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, like guys are just so much better, whether that's through, athletic training or just being more of a professional because guys are trying to compete for these $1 million contracts. But now, as you can see, it's like, hey, what makes Tom Brady, or what makes Tiger Woods, or Serena Williams, So the guys that are just dominating in their field, their mental games are unbelievable. And you can start to see now, like here's the Tom Brady model of how to be the best quarterback in the league. Like you're seeing they're starting to come out and try to monetize this stuff. And because it's valuable. It's a valuable tool to be able to get your mind into the place that you need it to be in order to be successful in whichever sport you're in.
Oh, yeah. I think that's kind of a driving factor about why we're doing this podcast as well. Like we want to talk to people smarter than us, bring guys like you on, Joe, that know a lot, have been through a lot, and can give all these different perspectives. So, a high school coach comes on here, listens, picks up some, little pieces of knowledge here and there, and can help their high school team read between the lines. So, you look at last night's game, for example, the Yankee game. Altuve, after the game, they interview him, he was sitting dead red fastball. Like he knew all the data. Like the coach and him were probably talking about all the data on Chapman probably for weeks before that game. And,
right.
I think he sees Springer's at bat. He throws a couple fastballs out of the zone. He's having trouble locating it. So he's probably sitting slider in the beginning of that bat. I think he threw 2 straight sliders where he then couldn't locate. And he's like, all right, I'm going to sit fastball here. He can't locate the slider. It wasn't just locating the fastball, but I bet the fastball is a little bit easier to locate than the slider here. Got that fastball. Especially with a guy like Chapman, he got 2 pitches. It's a little bit easier to, sit on something and get lucky, but data is becoming huge. So, I think that, this product is really going to help people fill in the blanks. You can have 2 equally talented guys out there, and one guy's utilizing something like this and learning why they're performing at a high level 3 out of the 5 days of the week. And also learn why they're not the other 2 days while, an equally talented guy isn't doing this stuff. And that's why he's not succeeding 3 out of the 5 days of the week or something like that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's one thing that I see all the time, and I'm sure you guys do too, is whatever kind of draft it is, whether it's baseball, NFL, NBA, like you hear all these analysts all the time talk about their specific sport IQ, baseball IQ. Oh, this guy has a great baseball IQ.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get that? Whether it's, playing as many games you can, like being a student of the game is huge. It's absolutely huge. Like there's a couple, we're kind of on the Altuve train here, but, how many times is that guy, there's a specific video that always sticks in my head where he let that, the fly ball drop, right. And then picked off the guy at first or whatever. I can't remember the exact play, but just little stuff like that. Like there's a reason why that guy's in the big leagues at 5'6". It's not because he's a freak athlete. He is a freak athlete, but what makes him, an MVP candidate year in and year out? What makes him different? And, it's his drive and will to win. He's a humble guy. You can name all the different characteristics, but his baseball IQ is got to be off the charts.
Oh yeah, for sure. The mental toughness, to make it being him at his size, like you
Right.
got to be. And I think with the first thing that that he said when they interviewed him, he's like, yeah, it just happened, but all these guys on the team did this immediately. That's what he said, and it's just like being that humble type of guy to immediately say, my team brought this value. I ran into a pitch here to win it, but my team got us here. I did love that, and I do respect him for that, even as a Yankee fan. But yeah, no, something. All right, so something I did want to ask you about the books that I was thinking about was, and it was something we struggled with in college as a team, and as a captain myself was, I think, tough to get a lot of our players to think about this, but a lot of the guys on my team in college would think about mechanics when things start going bad and start making adjustments. For example, at the wrong time, like during the game, based on whatever's happening.
Right.
Do you feel using this like type of style, like even as simple as your notebook was in college or professionally, helps you stay thinking about pitch sequences and timing versus trying to change your swing at bat to at bat?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely more in terms of grasping that data. If you're able to look at it from, if you look at one game and then you realize in the K zone part of each at bat, everyone's throwing you outside. Mm-hmm. So you kind of take that in, you gather it in, whether it's the next game or whatever, next week, you're able to kind of make that adjustment. You can make mechanical adjustments. You can do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I think it kind of plays into both realms, and you're able to have something that's tangible and it happened, and you're able to process that emotion like when it happened. So you're able to gather like more clear understanding of like, okay, why is it happening? How do I make this adjustment? And because you're able to write it down, and there's so many different sciences of writing stuff down, like the benefits of doing it. Mm-hmm. And, we can get into that later, but I think it's more geared towards, I think it's more geared towards what's happening in the game. If you want to make a mechanical adjustment, that was never me. I wouldn't recommend making a mechanical adjustment mid-game. Yeah, but there's one thing you can make an adjustment in, and that's how you're being pitched. Mm-hmm. And whatever adjustment you have to make in that at bat or in that game to be successful, I think the notebook or writing something down, even if it's just a general notebook, is going to help you achieve that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, like when I'm thinking about, I didn't utilize something like this. If I were to utilize something like this, I think it would have helped me and or possibly my team stay on that side of like in the moment, mental approach versus like trying to get too intricate. Okay, I just popped the ball up. Oh my gosh, I must be swinging up under it. When really this guy's painting the bottom half of the zone, just pitch after pitch, or he's throwing me a lot of breaking balls low in the zone, and you're letting that you're just not staying on top of it or staying through it, whatever it may be. I like you're saying, I feel like this helps stay tangible, which is huge. Like there's so many uncontrollable factors in baseball, like the failure rate is enormous, and whatever you can control and whatever's tangible, like latch onto that and use that to your advantage.
Right. I think that's a good way to put it. There is, you're recognizing what's happening in the now, just like you're saying. It's happening now. So, and at the same time too, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do. Like you can't. The guy on the mound, if you're a hitter, the guy on the mound is good too. Like he got a scholarship too. Or if you're in pro ball, like, hey, this guy's cashing in a check too. It's just you got to take those failures and then learn from those failures, and those are the kind of adjustments that you need to make.
So I'm on your website, alwaysgrind365.com.
Yeah, every day, baby.
And I stumbled upon your Always Grind recruiting email template where prospects in high school can plug in their information and send them out to institutions like you did when you were younger. Amazing.
Yeah.
Very bravo, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sure that's helped a bunch of kids.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's all about, something as simple as that, like, because that's what I did, and just reaching out to guys, and it just shows that if you're persistent, like I probably sent out 300 plus emails when I was in high school, and a lot of guys, they don't really know what to say to coaches, or they don't know how to phrase it, say hey Jim, or hey Coach Jim, or hey Coach Smith. They don't know how to do it or be respectful, or have like a template to send. So I just wanted to throw that out there and provide something for guys if they want to be persistent and send emails and create contact lists to play at the next level. Here it is. Go download it. Like if you want to be that guy who gets the opportunity to go play, and you got to make it happen. You got to take ownership of your career.
That's great. Good on you.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that all the listeners will have their notebooks out throughout this episode, because there's been a lot of good stuff on mentality. I think the importance of data and stuff like that. But let's get into some little bit lighter and more holistic questions here. Quinn, you want to hop into this?
Yeah. What's your favorite baseball movie, Joe?
Favorite baseball movie is Bull Durham.
Ooh.
Good one.
Wow. Kevin Costner, and it's not Field of Dreams. Huh.
His Field of Dreams is another good one.
Yeah.
Another good one. I just love Bull Durham just because it's so baseball.
Mm-hmm.
If you play the game long, like throw the next pitch is at the mascot. Trust me. Announcer point of view isn't gonna get that unless you played baseball or you played thousands of games in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gathers all just what baseball is in that movie. That's why I love it.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, my roommate in college, that was his favorite. We were always watching that. It's a great one.
What's the biggest lesson baseball has taught you?
Ooh, that's a good question. To never give up in whatever it is. To never give up. You hear it all the time. Baseball is a game of failure. Baseball is a game of failure. The statistics will show it. It's a game of failure. And I think the reason why, baseball is America's pastime, like it embodies the American spirit, is just because, life is a game of failure. And if you're able to be a good baseball player, you're able to take those failures and capitalize on those learning experiences. So I would say, just to never give up and embody those failures to try and be a better person or better community member, whatever it may be, better coach. That would probably be the biggest lesson I've learned.
Yeah, that's a good one. That seems to be the whole ethos of this podcast, from what I've been hearing you saying, with the emails, the letters, the schools, to the perseverance on Kansas, just don't give up. Eventually the hard work will pay off. Yeah,
it's that's what it's all about. In my opinion, it's what it's all about. I mean, in life, I think Gary Vee says it all the time. You got one at bat. What are you going to do about it?
Wow, this is the second Gary Vee reference in a row on the pod.
2 episodes in a row. I love it. No, I love Gary Vee.
Very influential. If you were talking to a new high school coach trying to better his program, what's the most important tip that you could offer up to him?
Ooh,
no pressure.
Yeah. It's going to take a while but you want to build a culture. You want to build the culture. Mm-hmm. And, one of my old previous high school coaches that I played for, he actually just got a job nearby. He's the head coach, and he's trying to revamp this baseball culture for the school that was very good for a long time, and it kind of lost its luster in the past, decade or so. But to build a culture to where you have that embodiment of winning, especially at the high school level, because you can't recruit guys. So if you're able to kind of build a framework of a culture, that you can almost plug and play in players, like that's the best way to go about it, in my opinion. I know it's difficult to talk about and be, Monday morning quarterback kind of point of view, but if read books on culture, like do whatever you can to try and build and establish culture to where guys that are walking on campus freshman year, it's like, hey, this is serious stuff. Like, I got to start preparing now if I want to play varsity as a junior.
Set the tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that's that captain answer I expected, to be honest with you, Joe. I love that. And you hit the nail on the head. I think as being a captain or a coach now, like probably 90% of what you did as a captain was probably culture. Like I know it was for me. Like if you establish the right culture, like a lot of the other things get checked off the list in terms of like talent falling into place, everyone playing the right way. It's culture is like enormous.
It's huge. I think I forget what video I saw it in, with how many, videos, short minute clips we view a day now with social media, but I forget what school it was, but the coach, he was like, your culture attributes to, plus or minus 3-4 wins a season. And in college, that's huge. Like that's the difference of making a regional.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And think about it in high school, a really short season. I'd agree the same, probably 3 to 5 games. And that's the difference between a terrible season and a great season in high school.
Yeah. And then 7 innings too.
Yeah.
Different ball game.
Oh, you could have, I think about high school games are very interesting because they are so short. I feel like one inning can either blow up, for the good or for the bad. And you see that a lot in high school. And it's like, was that other team really good or did that other team collapse? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome. I love that tip. I think that's great for all of our listeners out there. Work on your culture. And maybe that'll be a resource or something we start working on, like some culture checklists or stuff like that. We're working on a lot of resources right now, but I love that. So I guess to kind of wrap up here, Joe, this has been real fun. Appreciate you having you on. You want to tell the listeners where they can find out more about the business and more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave and Quinn, thanks for having me on. This has been a lot of fun, and we'll definitely do this in the future. Always Grind. So you can find us online, www.alwaysgrind365.com. Social media, Twitter handle is alwaysgrind365. Instagram is alwaysgrind365, and Facebook's just alwaysgrind. Definitely give us a follow. We got some exciting stuff to announce here in, honestly, the next couple of weeks. And like Dave mentioned earlier, we're going to be releasing something and collaborating on some cool stuff too. So definitely make sure to give Coach Greats a follow as well, and to see, everything that's going to be releasing here. If coaches are listening that are going to the ABCA, we will have a booth at the conference. So
very nice, very nice.
101 right in the front left. So if you guys want to check out some of these notebooks, if you're going to be at the show, we'll have a bunch passing out sample notebooks, doing the whole trade show thing. And for guys that, aren't going to be there, all notebooks online are, you can check out each individual page. You can zoom in. You can see exactly what's in every single notebook. And then obviously we have contact information on the website as well. Please, I'm open. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you guys want to talk about notebooks, the benefits of keeping a notebook for a player, for a team. I'm all ears, and I want to help. I want to help and leave my mark on the game of baseball, the great game, and give back to the game that's been so, I'm very grateful to be a part of.
Awesome, Joe. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck at the ABCA. I wish we could be there this year, but we're not gonna. We'll be there next year for sure. For sure. Me and my partners can't make it this year, but next year we're definitely gonna have to be there. It's a huge event. So best of luck to you this year. Hope you get best in show, and everybody check out Always Grind.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll do this again shortly.
For sure.
Yeah. I think we gotta have a round table with maybe all the partners and stuff. We're trying to get a bunch of round tables going on in the future, but
yeah, that'd be fun.
Cool. All right, guys.